Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the next in our series of webinars with our illustrious partners. And today we have a presentation from David Mercer, who is the Enterprise Practice Lead for Daxtra. Daxtra are quite a long-standing partner of Access, and they're experts in the recruitment automation and candidate search and match areas, and they've got several clients that are also Access clients, and they support them superbly. And David has stepped up this morning to talk to you about how to prepare yourselves for what's coming after lockdown, and COVID-19 is but a distant memory. So from here on in, I'm going to hand across to David. If you have any questions, please drop them into the chat, and David and I will talk them through later on. But for now, David, over to you.
Cool. Yeah, thanks very much, Dominic. I'm really thrilled to be here. This webinar is going to run for about 20 minutes. Initially, I'm going to set the scene with what we predict the market changes will be, and the challenges around those that we foresee, and then take you through, for the second part of it, a very short demo on the Daxtra solutions and how they solve some of these challenges that we're going to raise, and how they work alongside your existing Access infrastructure. Okay. So just to set the scene a bit, what do we predict the challenge to be? What's going to change as a result of COVID and of lockdown? Well, I certainly think there's going to be more candidates out there in the market due to furlough schemes starting to recede and wind down. A potential drop in some of the employers' profits may lead to redundancies. And therefore, there's going to be more candidates to access a candidate-rich market. There's also going to be fewer jobs, likely, especially initially, and that's due to maybe a potential recession, or even perhaps some of your clients might start to recruit directly to see if they can save costs there. And it's obviously up to us to prove to them that that's not going to save them costs. They're not going to get to the best candidates. So the challenges will be sorting through all of those large pool of candidates to make sure you're getting the right ones quickly, especially as these jobs are going to be even more competitive than before. Therefore, it's even more important than ever to make sure you get to the best candidates even faster. And finally, you may also have less resource. You might not have as many resources, as many recruiters, administrators, all working as part of the same team. Some of these roles may have merged, perhaps. So you also won't have people ensuring that you've got that good data. And this can also lead to perhaps bad habits that may affect you in the long run. So you'll therefore need to be far more efficient in how you work, and you'll need tools to help you find the best talent. And that's what I'm going to take you through. I'm going to take you through how Daxtra's AI solutions can assist in some of this. So quick, very short introduction of Daxtra. I'm not going to take you through everything on this page here, but a few that I think are key to sort of set the scene really is Daxtra's solutions have been founded in natural language processing and machine learning, and we operate in over 40 different languages. We're also processing more than 100 million records every single month, and that's what feeds in to our machine learning engines. We've got the algorithms, and we've also got the data that can back that up. And why that's beneficial to you is when you're constructing your searches, we're learning all the time, and these new terms, new synonyms, new job titles, qualifications, you name it, we're learning them and the other ways that candidates represent them across their CVs, so that no matter how the candidate describes their experience, as long as they're relevant, we're able to find them using our AI techniques as well. And we also source candidates from your local Access CRM, but also over 200 external job boards as well. So no matter where the candidate data lies, on social network platforms, on job boards, within your database, we're able to leverage that and help you get to those candidates even faster. As mentioned, we work alongside the Access infrastructure. So all of these databases mentioned here, the brand new Access Recruitment CRM, and the previous solutions of Access RDB, and also what was formerly known as Microdeck Profile, now Access Profile as well. So we integrate with all of these platforms now and into the future. So we've set the scene of what I predict, or what we predict is going to be coming over the next few months, certainly up until the end of the year. So how does this impact the existing challenges we already have? And that's what I want to take you through now before we come into the actual demonstration, is what hinders us when we're sourcing for candidates. Why can't we always find that best talent, or how could we do it even better? So I've put together here, you may have seen this from some previous things that we've run before, of what are the sources of my candidate data and what hinders me, what challenges me being able to find those candidates. And we recently run a poll to bring out this information of what hindered us. But to take you through the sources, which hopefully you would agree with, is candidates are coming from your own personal networks, from referrals. You also have quite a rich candidate database within your Access infrastructure of all the candidates that you've built up. You spent the time, the energy building those candidates up, building that relationship, which in theory is a unique selling point of your business that none of your other competitors will have access to. There's also job boards, as we mentioned, and social media platforms, and perhaps certainly now and in the first instance, this is where the majority of candidates might be coming to. You know, your organic growth of your own database might have slowed down during lockdown. So where are these candidates going to be? They're going to be posting themselves, updating their candidate information on these external CV databases. And you need to harness that information. You need to get access to that. And also, yes, very important as well, job adverts and your own website applications. So the marketing that you do to bring in that candidate data. So these are the sources of your candidates. But what are the challenges? What hinders you in being able to source those candidates, the best candidates, quickly? So you may have too many results being returned. You might be searching across multiple different locations and you're getting too many candidates back. It can be quite difficult to filter down on those results. You know the good candidates in there, but perhaps they're on page 5 and you're scrolling through result after result to actually get to that candidate. So that can be a challenge, that can hinder you there. There might also be, perhaps now as well, new recruiters, graduate recruiters that might not know the best search to run. But not only that, it might be that there's some changes within the business and you're picking up different sectors that you're perhaps not familiar with. You don't know all the skills related in forklift truck driving, for example, or in teaching or nursing. You might have to move around a bit. So you might not know always the best query to run. And that's certainly an element we can help you in, and that you don't have to stay on top of your subject matter all the time. We can actually educate you on the best terms to include within those queries. You might get unsuitable candidates. That could also be related to poor quality data. You've run the perfect search that you've used before, but the candidates coming back just aren't relevant. And that's due to searching algorithms where we can help as well. And also time constraints, especially with some of the challenges I mentioned before. You know, more candidate data, more competitive jobs, fewer resource or less resource within your business. Again, do you have the time to qualify every candidate, assign them attributes, load them into the database, track the source? Are you able to do all of that? So these are certainly some of the hindrance that, based on a recent poll that we ran, is what some of the people we talked to in the market are experiencing at the moment. So what I'm going to take you through now is a very short DAX research demo, which actually helps solve all of those challenges as well. So we're going to take you through that now. And as Dominic mentioned, any questions that you have, throw them into the chat, and if we get time, we'll come on to them towards the end. So this is our DAX research interface, which integrates again with your Access infrastructure. And it allows you to search over your local pool of candidates, so your CRM candidates, and all your external candidates all at the same time, therefore driving efficiency, being able to find that candidate data. But we also then apply our intelligent scoring over those results. And that's what I want to show you now. Now, there's two main ways to interact and build a query in DAX research. And the first is by creating a match query, and that's more automated. We take a job description and build the query off the back of that automatically for you to make it quick and easy to run relevant searches. And then second of all, I'm going to take you through how you can construct your own search as well, which perhaps gets you more precise results, slightly less automated, but allows you to have a bit more control over that search. So there's no right or wrong way of using this. Different sectors, different job descriptions, depending on how well they're written. Different recruiters might prefer different methods. So I'm going to take you through both of those now, starting with matching. Now, you would have your jobs built into your CRM, so you would select a job from there. But for today's demo, I'm just going to select a job description that I have in a Word document, which is another way you can interact just by copying the text from this job description or a URL from a website, pasting it into our query box here. It's going to automatically build me this matching query using all the key skills and information out of that job spec, like so. So you can see we've pulled out the job title, DevOps Engineer. We've pulled out the key skills as well. We've set years of experience, which actually I'm just going to reduce. I want to get some broad results coming back. But also now, if we click on any of these individual skills, you can actually see this machine learning at play here. You can see how else can this skill of Microsoft C# be represented across candidate CVs. And we automatically expand that out for you for every single term that you want to search over. So the benefit of that is you don't have to continuously stay up to date with all the other ways that these terms could be written. We're going to learn that automatically for you and help that, build that into the query, so when you run your search, you've got to catch all the candidate data without having to type in long, complex Boolean queries to actually get that right. I'm also going to bring in my external sources as well. So I'm just going to tick a few generic job boards that I've got login for. But of course, these would be subject to your own job boards and your own access to those. And also along the bottom here, you can play around with the structured filters. So depending on the job board, you have different structured filters. Depending on what options you have available inside of Access, again, you can filter on things that aren't typically on a CV, things like salary range, availability, whereas the intelligent match query at the top will be searching over the CV text itself. Other examples like source here as well. So we can run this search and we will return all our results from the different sources really quickly, really easily, without the need to build that query up yourself. And here are the results you can see coming from all the different sources that I have access to. So that was a match. Now let's move on and show you a search. So a slightly different approach here. Instead of having the match build automatically off the back of a job description, I want to control the search. I want to type in the results, sorry, the terms that I want into my search query here. Now, we do support Boolean searching as well. Some of you might be those Boolean black belts out there that are really expert in building these queries. So you can type those in, but what I'm going to do is what we call a natural language search. And it's actually going to learn from your data sets inside of Access. And it's going to help you build out what queries, what terms can I search on? And we're going to classify those out to get really precise results. So let me take you through that now as well. So I'm going to type in, first of all, a term. I'm going to type in a job title. So I typed in the term project. Now what you'll see here is we've actually categorized where project has appeared in your candidate data. Again, that's really important. We're actually learning from the CVs that you have available. So when we do that, we look over it all and we see where has project been represented as a skill. Here is a list here. Where has it been represented as a job title or a qualification? Also, if it's relevant, we also look at industry, spoken language, companies as well. So you can actually qualify, and this is a limitation that Boolean or free text searching has, is it doesn't know what the words actually mean. If you type in the term, for example, Microsoft, it's going to look for everyone that's ever worked for Microsoft, but also anyone that uses Microsoft Office, because it doesn't know what you're trying to tell the system. It just looks, does that word appear on the CV? Yes, we bring that back. So that's where we're able to bring additional value, additional benefit, so we're able to qualify what those words actually mean within the candidate CV to help you get to those best candidates. Coming back to those challenges we mentioned earlier of incorrect candidates being returned or too many candidates, this is able to solve that challenge. So we'll continue here. So you can see here we've got the different skill sets where project management has been mentioned, different job titles, and then qualifications, as I mentioned. But I want to go for a job title. So let's choose project manager. You can see the number there is actually telling me how many candidates I have available. Now what it's done here as well is you can see we are now suggesting these terms again from your data sets. So we've broken it down by the same categories, and we've looked across all those 2,000 odd project managers that you have. What are the other skills they have in relevance order? What other job titles have they had across your data sets? What companies do they work for? So you can see the #1 company here for the project managers in my database work for Bank of America. So that's real-time feedback and reporting based on the data that you have. It's giving you that insight that you might not have had before of where do all my project managers work, who do they all work for, or what the top companies they work for, or what are their top skills. Again, that helps with those perhaps junior recruiters or people picking up different sectors. I don't know all the terms I need to search over, but here it's telling me in my database, my project managers have experience with Scrum, with Perl, with project planning, for example, in relevance order. So let's bring in Agile. This is a skill that I also want to include here. So I've now got project manager and Agile. Again, you can see our machine learning working at play here, all the other various expansions and synonyms of how Agile methodology has been represented across your candidate data. And I want to go for project manager and Agile or Scrum. So again, I can bring that in and build my OR query, again, with all the machine learning and experience there. And just like before, let's bring in our external job boards as well and social networks. So I've built my query. Those are the two ways of building your query: from a match, more automated; from a search, natural language search, more precise. And also, you will have noticed there that you're able to set years of experience for each of the terms. So how much years of experience do they have with Agile or Scrum? When were they a project manager? When did they work for this company? Again, giving you that control over your own data. But let me now show you the next part of how we then score this candidate data. It's all well and good of being able to build the query, but how do we return the results? How do we know who is the best and who is the most relevant candidate for this role? So let's run this search through. Now we're going to use a number of techniques here, but the main three that I think are worth mentioning here is we are scoring the candidates based on their context. So we look for these terms. We know they have to be job titles or skills. We've categorized those already. But then also we're looking now to see how much experience do you have with these terms? How recently are you in this job title or using this skill? And also the terminology around it. So for example, you might say, I report to a project manager. Well, we know that's very different to I am a project manager, for example. And that can be used across all different industries and sectors to help you actually understand this information like a human would, score it intelligently based on actually what they've written in their CV and what they actually mean by it. So let's break down a couple of candidates. I can actually show you a quick example. Now, these are all going to be great candidates. They're all in my top 20. But if we actually load up Carlo here, we can see on the left-hand side, we have their CV. We've highlighted the terms where it's matched. And they are currently a project manager using the skill Agile. And in this current role, they've been doing that since 1999. So a lot of experience there in their current role, 20 years experience, which we can see highlighted here. But also, if we look over the rest of the CV, we can we score their skills based on how prolific they are. Now let's scroll through and find a lower ranked candidate. Now, like I said, they're all going to be good candidates because they're all on the first page. They're all high up in the list. But if we actually load up Michael here, we can see how we're differentiating that. So again, current job title, they're a project manager, and they've been in this role for 5 years. So they've been in the current role for fewer years. But actually, if we look across the whole CV and scroll down to the bottom, we can see they've been a project manager across multiple work histories, but starting back in 2005. So they have 15 years experience being a project manager, whereas the previous candidate had 20 years experience, even though it's both been their job title all their career and their current job title. So again, just giving you a quick high-level breakdown of how we're actually intelligently scoring the candidates. We're not just looking for term repetition, we're actually looking to score them intelligently. Final few things to take you through here, and this comes down to take a closer look at your external candidate data, so across your job boards. Now, what we're also able to do is deduplicate candidates. So once a candidate's been loaded through onto the system, we're able to tell you when that candidate was downloaded, just like this. I can hover over a candidate that has the Daxtra icon next to them to say they're actually downloaded by me a few weeks ago. And that's really useful because we're all about promoting the data wherever it is, but it's good to get a good insight of how up to date that information is. Is the data already in your database and only a couple of days old? Great, you probably don't need to download it from a job site. Is it already in your database, but it's 3 years out of date? Then you definitely need to go and download the most up-to-date information. Or is it not in your database at all? Then we can tell you that information as well to give you that insight. And for this candidate, we can see here my CV library candidate and my eFinancial candidate. They're not in the database, so it's a one click of a button to quickly download those, automate that process, track the source of where they came through, and load them into the database. So you've got the most up-to-date candidate data wherever that may be. And finally, I just wanted to show you how you can filter down on large candidate data sets. So I'm just going to run over by a little bit, but just not too much. So once you've got your candidate results, you might think, okay, 796 candidates is too many. So what we have on the left-hand side, again, using our learning, we're able to qualify common terms across these CVs. So I can click here on job title, current job title. I want them to have Agile Scrum Master. I know I've got 29 candidates that meet that criteria across these almost 800 candidates. I can also look at recency. When do they last update the information? Let's say I want the candidates that updated their information in the last fortnight. So it's more recent, they're more likely to be applying for a role. And again, on location, let's say I want to filter out a location, I can just double click on that and say I don't want any candidates from California, for example. Streamline that down, I get my list of 3 candidates, which I can then select all and shortlist directly into Access against a vacancy or a hot list inside of the database. So I hope that solved a number of those challenges that we started with of having too many results, not being able to filter down, perhaps not getting the best candidates at the tops of your list. Using our intelligence, we're able to bring those and ease those challenges that you may have. And just to wrap up before we come on to the questions, that's just not just about search and match. We have a number of other solutions as well, which we're not going to have time to go into today. But some of the other challenges we addressed were time constraints, quality data. Well, 2 of our other solutions, Capture and Styler, are all about automation, and they take away the time and the manual tasks, of creating, updating candidate data, but also of rebranding the candidate CVs into your company templates. So if you find that you spend too much time on admin tasks, candidate data gets lost outside of Access, it's not all getting into Access every time, or perhaps the source isn't being tracked correctly, or even if you find duplicates in the database, we can actually benefit you by automating all of that process, ensuring you have good quality data integrity that you can trust within your database, and also means that you won't fall into any bad habits that might impact you in the long run. So to wrap up, how are you going to gain that competitive advantage? How are you going to solve those challenges that we've mentioned? Well, our solutions will help you easily leverage your Access data, candidate data, as well as your external CV databases simultaneously. No matter where the candidates are, you'll be able to find them. You don't need to spend time and learn complex Boolean or perhaps waste time skill coding, assigning attributes if you don't have time to do that with less resource. You can use quick, easy, intelligent searches that require minimal training and take away the limitations of Boolean searching, of not understanding the data correctly. All of this will help you find the best candidates and place them a lot faster, which is what I think we need certainly in the coming months. So I think I'll stop there. We've got 3 minutes till past. Dominic, have any questions come through?
Well, David, firstly, thank you very much. That's been really quite enlightening for me to see in a bit more detail what Dijkstra that can offer, especially in terms of streamlining and efficiencies. There's going to be a lot of recruiters out there, like you say, that are going to be pivoting from one industry to the other and having to learn new terms that are relevant to these new industries they're looking after, right? And one of the questions is, do you have term expansion across all industries? So the examples being given are healthcare, education, and driving. I'm guessing that's from someone that is going to pivot from one of those to another.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good question. And the answer is certainly yes. So we are actually learning in two methods. We're learning from all the hundreds of millions of CVs that we're processing. So we're learning the terms there. But also crucially, we're learning from your data sets as well. So when we install our solutions, we run our scripts, our AI scripts and machine learning to actually pull out and classify these terms and their expansions no matter the industry. So it's industry independent. We're learning from your data and all the data that we process from the last 18 years as well.
And is that learning applied across all of your clients, all Dijkstra clients, all Dijkstra users, or is it just held within the algorithm for an individual business?
Yeah, so that's another good question. So of course we're learning across all the data sets, but what you'll be able to take advantage of is the information that we learn from your system all contained within there. So we're not going to share any of the learning that we get from your specific data with anyone else. You get to keep that within your own system. Absolutely.
Okay, there's a question here which might make more sense to you than it does to me. Can you match CV to CV?
Yes, yeah, another good question. So what I showed you there was a job spec matching to candidates. That was one method. You can also do the reverse. You can match that candidate in your database to the available jobs. But also that specific question, yes, if you've got that golden candidate that perhaps has just accepted another role, but you want to find other candidates that are similar based on their expertise and skills, then yes, we can do candidate or to candidate matching, CV to CV matching, yes.
Question here, well, there's a couple of questions in fact, and they seem to come across the same thing. I mean, there's one question asking, can you integrate with accesses on-premise platforms as well as cloud? And the other question is, what does RDB integration look like from a user perspective? I'm guessing that's those two questions can be answered in one.
Yes, so we do integrate with either the on-premise or the cloud platforms for any of the Access CRM databases that we work with. And the user interface, it would be very much like how I showed you there, so that the search solution would pop out, if it's RDB you were asking, it would pop out as a separate browser interface, and then any interactions you do within that would be mirrored inside of your actual CRM. So if you created a shortlist in our interface, that shortlist would be created in RDB. If you added a note in our interface, that would be added in RDB, and vice versa.
Right, so it looks as we have just seen, but the data is pushed back into RDB in terms of lists and searches and things.
Absolutely, yep.
Okay. Does your system understand that different organizations use different job titles, and does this affect the ranking?
Yes, okay. Again, so it certainly would affect the ranking, because that comes under the terminology, the context in which we find the terms. So as I mentioned, we're scoring it on how recently you're using these skills or within this job title, how much experience you have overall, but also how it's been described in the CV. So senior project manager would contain more weight, and the variations of how different organizations, describe job titles slightly differently, but kind of mean the same thing. That's also taken into account and would influence the rank, yeah.
And one more, just to wrap up.
Yeah.
We're coming out of, well, we're hopefully coming out of the situation we've been in. Recruitment businesses are starting to come to life again, and the furlough scheme will be ending, and we're going to get people coming back into offices or working from home or whatever is right for the businesses out there, how quickly can a business take advantage of what we've seen today?
Yeah, so I mean, there's lots of different solutions that we offer. So it's quite hard to give exact, times and dates, for example. But if people are interested, then I would recommend to reach out to us as soon as they can. We can certainly scope what their requirements are and look to implement our solutions as soon as possible ahead of these challenges that we're going to start facing. So they're in the best position to take advantage of that and optimize that moving forward.
Perfect. David, thank you very much for taking the time to share your views, to share what Daxtra has to offer. To all of you listening, who are listening live, and for those of you that are listening to a recording, thank you very much for taking the time to spend with us today. If you want to reach out to David or to the team at Daxtra, the details are on the screen, and you can go to daxtra.com. If you are interested in anything that Access has to offer, then please reach out to us, theaccessgroup.com/recruitment-software or 0845 345 3300. But for now, David, take care. Thank you very much again. And to everyone out there listening, look after yourselves, take care, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.